right, we're back on day 3 of building this go-kart. Today we're doing steering. This is our steering wheel. It's pretty simple. We just welded it to a pole. And on this other end, we have this. Basically, this part we attach to the tie rod, and then as you turn the wheel, it pulls the tie rod either direction and steers the wheels. Straightforward setup, but it works. These are the tires we're gonna use. The tie rod just goes through those holes right there in the back, and as we turn them to one side, they'll both turn. So now both front tires will go in there and sit like that. They'll be only about this deep in there on each side. That's kind of what the front end of this is gonna look like. It's another day of working on the steering. So when we left off last time, this was kind of our idea. This little thing in here, and that would sit there like that. And then we could steer it right here. So I think we'll start by welding this to the frame of the shopping cart and then seeing what we need to do next. All right, I've got it sitting how I like it. So we're gonna tack this piece on and then we can take the tire out to weld it. I just have the tire in here right now so that I can see if it's clocked too far one direction or tilting to the side. So we'll get it standing straight up where we want it, and then we'll weld this piece in. So now that's just tack welded on there. We can take another look and see if we like how it is. That's sitting where we like it, so we're gonna tack weld it a few more places, take the tire out, and then fully weld it in. Okay. Now we'll just take the tire out. And we'll get that burned in there a little bit better. Well, that part's gonna stay at least. It's pretty stable. Alright, now that that's just beautifully burned in there, we're gonna stick this back in and make sure everything still works. Alright, we have that sitting down flat on there, or as flat as it's ever gonna be. And it still turns just fine, so that side of the steering looks good to me. It's got some tight spots in it from where the weld started to come on in, but that'll self-clearance with enough driving. All right, time to do the other side just like we did the first side. We're gonna start by setting this in here, putting it through the hole, and then seeing if it's ending up where we want it to end up. We have that edge flattened up a little bit so that we can get a better weld on it. We want both of these to be sitting up at the same angle, so we want them maybe right there. All right, let's tack it real quick and see if we still like how it looks. Oh, I'm not wearing a, gotta put this on before I can just start welding. Now that that's tacked on there, we can decide if we like how it looks again. From the top, the tires might be turned a little bit different, but you can see the posts still come up at the same angle. It's not like one's tilted down and the other one's tilted forward. So that looks pretty good to me. Neither tire is more angled out than the other. Well, maybe that tire is a little bit cambered to the side. But that's mostly just from play inside the actual housing, which we can shim up with these little plastic things that fit around those poles, so we'll fix that. From the back, you can see they're the same height. We should probably measure that, but it looks pretty good. So now we've made any adjustments that we wanted to. We're gonna get that side all welded in just like we did over there. And then we'll flip it over and make sure we like it. Okay, we have both sides in there now. They're sitting how we like it. I guess it's time to flip this thing over and see just how bad of a job we did. All right, that's what we have. It sits kind of high up off the ground, and it's a little higher up in the front than it is in the back. The back is about 10 inches off the ground where I measured it, and the front is about 11 inches off the ground. So 1 inch difference, not a big deal to me. What is important is side to side. Like, is this side higher than that side? Because if it is, the cart will always want to pull to a side. So we said 11 inches for this side. And, well, as soon as you turn the tires, it changes height, but we'll see. We've got about 10.5 on this side. So we can leave the tires right there to measure it. That'll give us a better estimate. So we have 10.25-ish, maybe 10.5, I don't really know. And that one's definitely a little bit past 10.5. So I'd still say it's about 1/2 inch higher on this side than on that side, which means it'll always want to turn that way, I'm pretty sure. As you can see, we still have a bit of a camber issue with that tire over there. We haven't shimmed it up yet, so we'll see if that fixes it. There we have a wife for scale. We should give you the steering wheel. So the steering wheel will likely sit something like that. You can see we'll just put a tie rod between that, this, and that to steer this thing. Where it sits right now, you can see we turned the wheel plenty far to get more than enough steering on either side of it. So I'm happy with how that is. All right, here comes the best part of any go-kart build, doing a ghetto alignment so you can build a tie rod. Last time we used these because they're straight and flat, and you can just sit them on the tire like that. That worked out pretty well for us, so I think we'll do it again. Now we just have to attach these to the tires and get measuring. All right, so we're back. I've made a tie rod. Well, tie rod, whatever you want to call it. Sits in here just fine, turns the wheels equal amounts to either direction. It does turn farther this way than it does this way. I'm sure we'll work that out. Oh, you know why that is? It's because this is tilted up and this one's flat. So when it goes this way, it doesn't care because that tilt doesn't matter. When it goes this way, it gets all tilted and bound up, so it doesn't want to turn any further over here. So it looks like we'll be making some good left turns, or right, we'll be making some good right turns and some okay left turns. As you can see here, or maybe you can't see, super bent. Maybe it was designed that way, but I don't like it regardless. We got a couple of options to fix it. One way, we can cut through here, leave a little bit here at the end, hammer it down so that it touches and just re-weld it flat. That's one way to do it. Other way is stick something stronger through here and just crank it. We could beat on it with a hammer, but I don't think that's gonna work. We could completely cut it off, re-weld it the way we want it. I don't really like that option. I think that's the choice we'll go with. I think we're gonna cut that, hammer it down, see if we can take the curve out of it that way. All right, you see that? Now we'll just flatten it out. And then we can just run a weld across there. You know, honestly, still not great. Maybe it needs a little bit more. I think we'll leave it this way. I think I'm happy enough with it. We'll see how it does later on. This thing can't make very sharp of turns anyway because of that solid axle. It really drags one tire pretty hard. All right, there you can see it's a bit straighter on there. So we'll test that out. I think realistically, that's as much turning angle as we can get out of it to that side. And realistically, I think that's about as much turning angle as we can get out of it to that side. So I'm pretty happy with that much. So now that we have a tie rod, it's time to find a way to attach the tie rod to the back of here somewhere. So basically what we need is something to wrap from here around this post and just attach onto there. Pretty simple loop. I think we'll do it just fine. Now this is the last loop we used to go around there, but I don't know if I've cut off too much of it to use it again. I mean, if it sits there just like that, I like it. I like the clearance. Let's use this piece again. Got a nice ground there. I'm actually gonna want a glove for this one because I'll be holding the hot metal next to some more hot metal. So I've got everything set on here the way it'll be in the final cart. We have the backrest just sitting on, leaning up against the engine. The engine sitting on the engine plate. The chain kind of going down around the gear a little bit. And that's how this thing's gonna look all said and done. I think this is where we'll finish up our video about go-kart steering. We welded these to the frame so the tire would have something to sit on. We built a tie rod. We attached it to the steering wheel in a way that works. We have this loop here so that we have something stable on this end. We have this loop up here so we have something stable on this end. Those are getting cut off. We have a plate to hold the wheel up, and everything works as it should. The wheel turns just fine from up here, one-handed, not even hard. It's looking good to me. I think it'll take 2 more videos in this series to get us to this point all fully welded and built, and then probably another video for pedals and any other kind of quality of life things this cart would need. Next video, we're going to be putting the engine where it goes on the back of the cart and maybe driving it for the first time. We'll see. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to ignore them in the comments.